In this video, I'll show you how to execute your C code, uh, and then we are going to start doing some modifications to the simple C code so you can learn some more features of C language and learn and solve any pitfalls you may have. So let's start first by knowing the basic tools you need to get your code to be executed. First of all, we're going to have two types of files. The first one is this written in C format, which is called source file. So it's the one that programmer writes. And then you're going to translate this one to binary executable code to your computer. This is done by a process called compilation, by an application, by a software called compiler. And it will return a binary executable code that we can call matching code or object code. All right, so we have source file and then the executable object file. Um, for that purpose of compiling your code, you can use, if you don't want to install any program on your computer yet, you can use this online compiler, which is in this website, onlinegdb.com. Whenever you enter here for the first time, it will show you language selection in this top right side. So select C language, and in the top left you'll find the buttons of run and stop to control the execution of your program. And you'll find this simple code already written here. So you can test it by pressing run, the run button, and it will deploy this black terminal, black screen, and will show the results of your program. However, it is somewhat limited. I'll show you how, because it is not a computer with operating system that will show you some features and execution of this of some operations. So I'll tell you later what does that mean. So in the long term, I really suggest that you download and install a compiler for your Mac or Windows operating system, or even Linux if you're using. So let's copy this piece of C code, and I downloaded this dev C++ software for Windows. So let's open, and then here a new source file, and then paste the code, and we are going to press the button compile and run. It will prompt me to give it a name, so we'll call it main one, and as you can see the type is of source file. So I'll save it and it will start being compiled. See the message, hello world. Now this application is a black terminal, black screen application that is being run in your computer. So that's the difference. If you see here, we have these two files, the source file and the actual executable code. So I'll show you some other pitfall you may have. Um, I had to turn off my antivirus software because it will not allow me to execute this program. It will say this is suspicious software or something sometimes. So I turned it off. I tried to execute it on my own. Have a look what we have here. Some windows starts to flash, but it would not show me the message of hello world as it did here in the online compiler. So this is kind of a real life pitfall because it is an simulated environment to say somehow. But in this we had this problem. So what is happening? It is executing so fast at computer speed that it actually says hello world in black screen, but it closes too early because it's the only instruction it has. So we're going to use this trick. We're going to write some other operation. It is get car. It is get char, two parentheses and semicolon, and then click save. Save changes and compile and run again. We say see the hello world here, but it is being executed by this compiler. So I don't want to being executed with the aid of compiler, but actually do it myself in this folder. So I'm going to do a click and see what happens. It will show, and this time it does not close too early. It says hello world, and the statement I just added that says get car will delay this the display of this program. I have to deactivate again my antivirus that stopped this application. I'll show you here. It is waiting with the get car function for a letter or symbol to be typed, and whenever I press enter, it will actually end the execution of the program. Okay, now we're going to do a C program from scratch to remember the important parts that we talked on the previous video. So some of the items might be optional, some others are mandatory. So let's start with the mandatory ones. This preprocessor instruction, which is a number sign include and stands for including a file. And the name of that file must be in this and there's arrows signs, so stdio.h. Every file that finishes in .h is a header file, which is a library, or a file that contains functions or procedures that we are going to use to make it easier without the need of doing every task step by step. So namely, we're going to use the printf function that prints text in the black screen of your computer. So the next one is a main function, which is also mandatory. This is the function that calls the operating system and gives all the information to be executed from your code. So the format in C for define a function is, first of all, the type of data that it returns. In this case, it's going to return a numeric value. So we used int, which is integer. That is a number with no fractional part. Next, it's the name. We're going to put here main because it is the name of the main function, and then two parentheses, and then curly braces. So it is return type of data, the name, two parentheses, and curly braces. And here we're going to write the operations inside these curly braces. We are going to use from this library, from this header file, the function printf that will print the messages. So you write printf, two parentheses, double quotations, the text that you want to be written on the screen. And you can also use, since it is print formatted, printf, you can use some symbols to make it to give it some format. It's just you write the text, but you can control how it is aligned or some other parameters. This \n means a new line. Remember that every operation must be ended by a semicolon. Semicolon tells the computer that it is a operation, and this it's the end of this operation, so it can look for the next lines of code. So we're going to copy this thing just to show that it will do a switch of line in black screen. So hello friend, let's say hello friend, and to end it, we're going to use the return statement, because we are going to return the name, the number 0. So it will match the type of data that we told from the beginning that we were going to return. Why do we return the 0, to, and who do we return this value to? We return the value 0 to the operating system or outside of the main function to signal that all the program went okay. So it's like just to do that. We finish and everything's okay. So let's run it and we will see. Hello, hello, new line, go to the next line, friend. That's it. Now let's see what happens when you do things in the wrong way. For instance, if I included this file to use this function and I do the mistake of not including it, it will throw an error because it will not know what's printf, what's this function doing. So you need to include the file that contains the description and this information of this function. Also, if I don't use the semicolon as terminator, it will throw another error. So let's press run and see what happens. This is just to show you why we can't forget those little details. It will show error. Expected semicolon before return. So it must be placed here and then I go to the return statement. So what else? If I write any operation outside the main function, it will throw an error also. So just as I told you, you have to write the operations inside this main function. There are a few things you can do outside the main functions that are some sort of operation, and these are basically creating data variables. That is, the format is specifying the type of data that they will store. So for instance, let's say integer that will store an integer number, then the name, so let's say number, and semicolon. It will be no error with this. I also can use, I can define with this preprocessor directive, define some labels so I can give a name to a value. Now 12 equals to this levels of val. And since it is a preprocessor directive, I do not need to use the semicolon as terminator, so just leave it that way. So we basically create here data. It's almost the only thing we can do here outside the main function.